I'm thinking I need to stop making rap beats, period. All producers need to stop making rap beats and focus on, Latin music, Afro beats. What else is pop? What else is out there? Country. Some beat makers are making country beats. What's going down, everyone? It's the I almost said Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. It's the No Pain, No Gain podcast. Who knows? MEC didn't really ever leave us. It's still there. We're still on Instagram. We're still posting. So anything could happen. Shout out to everyone in the comments that still keeps the MEC spirit alive. Good morning, Aaron. Good morning, Dame. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I mean, I think we're still present. We're still trying to provide value. Still here talking about different issues that pop up so that people can remain educated on all these topics. So yeah, the MEC is definitely here in spirit. We're still trying to figure out the details in terms of like formally what it will be presented as. But until then, you still have the voices of pain, Aaron and myself. And we're still in music, and we probably don't know why, but we're still here.
I feel like we should start an R&B group called The Voices of Pain, Aaron and Myself.
Well, as you see, I'm always losing my voice, so I'm not cut out to be a singer or a vocalist.
It's the ad-libs, Aaron. Just stop being so aggressive with the ad-libs.
A lot of people aren't, and they still doing it, and some are successful. I feel like if I would have grown up in this era, I might have given it a shot since I love R&B so much. But like growing up, I knew I couldn't sing, so it wasn't something that I attempted to take seriously. But that doesn't stop people today. They still make music. Some of the music does well. Some of the music sounds decent.
I think that's because people like to be attention. I feel like you're not somebody who's like, I need attention. So like, I don't like being in front of people like that. Like, I don't mind it, but I'm not looking for it. So I don't want to be an artist.
Yeah. I might pen a song for somebody at some point. I got some ideas in terms of for writing, but we'll see.
There's a lot of intrigue behind that statement.
Yeah. Obviously I'm happily married now, and I was never like wild or anything, but we all have our experiences and relationships and things like that. But yeah, anyway, man, what we got on the agenda today?
We have a video actually from a former guest on MEC. Hopefully not the last time he's going to be on here. I'm pretty sure you brought him on. I was a fan of him for a while. Marlon Craft. I don't recall which episode that was, but I think it was pre-Aaron. So
yeah,
I'm sure Aaron's familiar with Marlon Craft. I'm losing my voice. Damn, too many ad-libs. Let me quickly share this video so we have context.
Everybody, it seems, that is doing really well right now, ascending really fast, is releasing content at a really abundant rate. And when I look at people that aren't doing that, but are still doing the numbers I want to do in terms of tickets and other things like that, they popped that off before the pandemic. They popped that off before we are in this moment where we are right now, before TikTok was even really a thing, right? So it's hard to like sit here and be like, I want to have intention in everything that I do. I don't want to water anything down, and I don't want to be like a production line, like a content manufacturer. But at the same time, if I have like 1 million people in my active audience that listen to me worldwide, and if I make one post a week, and if it does well, it reaches 30,000 people, how am I going to get this music that I work so hard over to the people and get them to hear it? And how is my art not going to suffer if I have to produce 3 pieces of content a week to keep things growing and whatever? And these are the good problems to have. Because it could be, well, I'm trapped in a deal and they won't let me release anything. They own my wife and kids, and it's the whole thing. But like, it's still frustrating. So what do you do? How does my art not suffer if I do that? And there is a way, and I'm gonna find it, but it's annoying.
I think that's the healthiest complaint about the current state of social media and music that I've heard so far, given the ending part. It wasn't like a woe is me sort of. It was a good combination of woe is me, but I know it's on me to figure out. But Dame's giving me a look.
Yeah, nah, this shit don't ride with me, you know. And you probably should be making more than 3 pieces of content a week. But let's just say he said 3. So you're telling me that in today's environment, if the number was 3, I think it's more than that. But and it's not really about the number per se, but you do have to be active. You have to be consistent. I still, not as an artist, I still would much prefer the landscape today over the landscape 20 years ago. You're complaining about making 3 pieces of content a week to maintain, and he's doing well now. Like he actually, I don't know when like things started going really well, but it was probably in like the last year and a half. Like he's selling out shows. I think he's probably got over 1 million monthly listeners. Like he's doing well.
Oh, but better than that.
Is 2 million monthly listeners? I don't know.
2.5 million monthly listeners.
Yeah. So folks need to stop complaining because like music has never been easy. And we've talked about this so many times before, but would you rather, and I'm looking at the Capitol building right now, like, would you rather have a situation where you can't go direct to your fans, you have to camp out on the bottom of the Capitol Records building, hope to run into some A&R, rap live to them on the corner, hope that they like what you're doing, maybe go to every showcase and present your skills, maybe sell your CDs out of your trunk? Like, today's young folks don't have to do that, but very few would be built for that life. That would have made it so many people wouldn't even try, right? But because we have social media and it's a little easier to try, and you can kind of be shy and not really put yourself out there into the real world. And because it's easier to make music these days in terms of the tools that we have, like it's a product. What he's talking about is a product of so many people wanting attention, right? So you have to create because so many other people are competing for that attention. But three pieces of content shouldn't be shit. Like a week, to be a full-time artist, you're telling me 3 is like draining your art? Like it don't have to be 3 songs. It don't have to be 3 music videos. Like 3 pieces of content, like content can be anything that's a part of your story, anything that you enjoy. Like, but again, I think it's more than 3. I think folks need to, like, I don't even like hearing this complaint, like at all, because music was never supposed to be easy. It's hard. Like you have to do it. Like if you don't want to do it, then there's a billion other people that will want to do it and are doing it. So I appreciate it that he said it in a respectful way, and I understand his concern, because it is tough to like continue to create, but that's the challenge today. That's the challenge today, and a lot of people fall off. But again, do you really want this or not?
Here's my question though. Why? Because it's not just, granted, the way you phrase things, put it into perspective. And I'm not of the school of thought that content is this evil thing. I hear even artists who are already, multimillionaires with major deals getting frustrated that they have to make content. I think, okay, well, somehow the fans interpret that as an artist trying to remain pure. I kind of look at it rolling my eyes too. I'm like, I've been in the situation where I'm managing an artist or I'm going 50-50 on a collab project, and all I need is for the rapper or the singer to make a goddamn phone video, and they just won't do it because there's something stopping them, something in their heart something in their spirit that's just not moving them towards pushing the record button on their phone. It's just, I can't do it. Like I've heard when I was in a group way back, this was in the MySpace era, and I was like, just reach out to, I can reach out to 500 people a week on MySpace just by messaging someone and trying to start a conversation. Back then we knew that, kind of street level marketing online was the way to go. So I was asking him, hey, what do you think the minimum number of people you can reach out to a week is? And I just remember like 2 weeks later, we check in. I'm like, so how did it go? He's like, man, I'm going to be real with you. I ain't do nothing. I just couldn't do it. It was something in my heart and my spirit. I'm telling you, dog, like the shit Jay's saying, sit right with me. I'm just like, how? And you're making it into this poetic, spiritual battle. And literally all you have to do is sit the fuck down in front of a computer and do a mundane task. You work a job. You do mundane tasks all day. You work in a motherfucking factory. I have a desk job. We're doing mundane tasks all day. This is a mundane task that is actually going to help our lives become anything but mundane. And you can't do it. This isn't me going off on Marlon, by the way. This is very specific to my past. But I wonder why it is that, because I feel this sometimes too, where I'm like, I got to make a TikTok video. Shit. And then I'll sit down and make 5 beats. What is it about, which is hard, arguably, and more time consuming. What is it about creatives that makes us so resistant to content creation when it's really not that hard?
Yeah. I think that I will agree with you, Payne, that I feel like he phrased it in a way that I was not as annoyed with, but I think I'm kind of in between you and Dame as far as his video goes. But it's like, if it were 3 pieces of content, you just got one complaining about it. But I'm not seeing him being in the studio 16 hours a day, right? Like, or doing music stuff for all of his waking hours. Like, if you could say I'm going to take 10 minutes, 15 minutes every day, when I was doing TikToks, I was trying to get to 100 TikToks. I did it for I think 140 days straight. Day 1 through 10, it took me an hour to record a video, and I hated it because I had to keep redoing it. I felt like I looked goofy. It was awkward. By the time I hit 50, 60 days, first thing I thought about when I flipped my phone around, boom, I was just trying to test the water of TikTok. But what it did, which is what I was telling everybody I knew it would do, either TikTok is going to work for me or it's going to help. It helps with podcasting. It helps with me not being so connected to my own perfect version of myself online. It helps me come up with topics faster, answer questions faster. So it's like, you just got to do it. But also, I think my biggest issue with artists who make this complaint is, why is your content not an extension of your artistic behavior? Like, why have you not figured out how to make your, if you have to record your music into Pro Tools or Logic or Fruity Loops, that's a confinement, right? Like, you have to record your music into a recording software. So artists don't look at that and say, man, I'm not using this software. I just want to go to the studio, or I just want to sing into my phone. They figured it out. That's the confinement. So for me, if it's social media is your confinement, why not now get excessively creative with how you're creating? That should just be the way you write songs as part of your creation, the way you rap, your tone, all those things. I think of Jason Derulo. Jason Derulo really likes making TikTok style videos, but that was just another iteration of his art, right? I think of Amine. When Amine was rolling out his last album before K-Tramine came out, he was doing some of the most unique things online. He was proving to everybody, I am not the average artist. And so many artists that I hear say that, man, I'm more creative than this. I'm not doing TikTok. I'm not doing da 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 because I'm so creative. And my thing is, if you're so creative, why have you not figured this shit out yet? That's just my issue. It's like, it's not that deep, but I feel like it's become super popular to complain about the easiest thing to do. You know, it's like, I don't know. I don't have a ton of sympathy because I think even for me, I didn't like making videos. I'm like, I would prefer just to talk on a panel and chop that up and put it on the internet. But I wasn't getting a lot of panels. So I started working on getting on more panels so I could chop it up and put it on the internet. If you don't want to hold your phone up and do talking head videos, what is it that you could do? He's selling out shows. Where's your videographer? Let's chop up more footage. Should you do day in the life stuff? Like, what is it that you could do that takes your mind off of this being content and just do it, you know? And I think that, yeah, I was talking to an artist the other day and he was like, they were doing a consultation with me and they were kind of like, you know, what should we be doing with our social media? And I'm like, that's the worst question to spend this time on this call with because you could do anything. You have no followers. And I think that bigger artists making this complaint enables smaller artists to have another reason to complain. And it's like, man, Marlon, you have a plethora, and this is not a shot because I think he's dope. And he literally made the caption content about content. He gets it. Dude gets it. But I feel like smaller artists, you have time. You don't have the bread. You're not getting the looks. So you have nothing but time to pour yourself into this. And I think this is where you should be spending more time creating than even the music, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, like when you get bigger on social media, you have like so many other options for like what you can do because a lot more things might work. When you don't have any traction yet, there should be a lot of trial and error to kind of figure out, you know, what's gonna spark. But like, I feel like his ideas at this point don't even have to be that creative to kind of keep his fans engaged, right? So I mean, I still think that there are very few artists that work full time, that work 40 hours a week. Like, it's just not possible. Like, you can't tell me that you work 40 hours a week and you have a problem creating 3 pieces of content. Like, that's correct. Like, where are your hours going? It's really just about getting organized. So it's a few things. It's about really understanding like your brand, your messaging, and your strategy, right? It's about getting organized. And another cheat code could be like working with other creators to make it a lot easier and do collaboration posts. Like one post can go on like 3 or 4 different pages now at the same time. Like, just work with other people if it's that hard to create content. Like, this is crazy to me. So with with Big Ja, I've been trying to help him get more organized, right? And he has traction. So he's another person that I think can do different things and they go well. But we already know that every week we have the Blackbusters podcast dropping. So we have that separate page. One post goes on his main page and like 10 posts go on the Blackbusters podcast page. But I also told him like these social media platforms love when you use like the tools within the platform. So he started doing to gear up for our crowdfunding campaign for a feature film that we're launching in probably about a month's time. That's based on The Whole Crew Is Stupid. Like I send him like stupid, like people doing stupid stuff, and then he'll stitch on the back of it like his commentary. Right. So we have those kind of like The Whole Crew Is Stupid posts. And then he also is into fighting. So he'll like if somebody does something to somebody else that's crazy, that deserves an instant fade. So we have The Whole Crew Is Stupid posts. We have instant fade posts. And then we have Blackbusters. But that's separate from like the sketches that he's dropping consistently as well. So, you know, I really don't want Ja to see this Marlon Craft post, because if he sees 3, he'd be like, oh shit, because we create a lot, and I need him to create more. Like, we need to create more to get to that next level. Like especially as we're gearing up to do this crowdfunding campaign. But if you're campaigning about 3 posts, like I don't know what you're doing with your week. Like I really don't know what you're doing with your week because content can be so many things. So I really have no sympathy here. Like I like Marlon and I like his music. I think he's a dope rapper, but this complaint is just ridiculous in my opinion.
Well, Dame has spoken. Yeah, I think there are just a million different ideas that people could be employing. So that's always my confusion, that as artists, we can't, like Aaron was saying, extend what creative ideas we have and what creative energy we approach our music with to the TikToks. Maybe it's the manner in which that kind of thing is being presented, because you hear a lot of people like, I don't know, guys on a podcast, or, you know, the people who are perceived as industry people who are always mandating content. Maybe it's a generational thing too. I think, I don't know Marlon Craft. I know he's younger than me, but people who are above, you know, like their late 20s are a little more resistant to, you know, because granted, on the one hand, I think things are great for musicians. Opportunities are there, resources are there. On the other hand, are consumers collectively becoming less and less interested in long form content? Are things leaning towards low attention spans? Yeah, of course. So I think there's also that sort of, you know, big picture resistance where people are like, I just don't like the way culture is moving and the way consumer behavior is changing. That feels weird. And it feels like, I think we've spoken about this, where TikTok is, a lot of people theorize that TikTok is turning music into not a work of art with longevity, but a moment. And, you know, granted, I don't believe that 100%, but it certainly has shown to do that. It's not TikTok, it's culture. It's the culture surrounding and the expectations of the consumers who are used to using these kinds of apps to consume a lot of content at a rapid rate. So I think that's a valid emotional response to the current landscape of social media as it intersects with music.
Yeah. I mean, but it really just depends. Like, again, I mean, people are still watching movies. Russ just had a great rollout, and I think it included like a short film. I don't know how short it was, but I'm assuming it is at least 15 minutes, you know, 10 to 15 minutes. There's another cat, the other cat, Connor Price, who I've been following for a minute. I don't know how he popped off the way that he did, because he's at like 7 million monthly listeners. And he seems to be an old, he's not as old as me, but he's not a young cat, right? And he's been doing this for a minute, and he's married, and I believe he's got kids, or at least a kid. And he still, and I don't know what his team looks like, but he still finds time to create a lot of dope, high quality content, put out music consistently, have his family. I think he's going on tour. He does a lot of communication via those Instagram channels. Is it called broadcast channel? He has a big, so he's, you know, I think that's been working for people that have invested the time to get people to subscribe to their broadcast channel, because those messages go like direct to fans, and I think fans get an alert or something. And then he also has like a group, I think it's GroupMe, or a new app called Grouped, where he has like, you know, where he communicates people directly through this app, and it's like there's an email component. I've been watching what he's doing. Like he's dope in how he's engaging and growing his community. And like I said, he's probably at like 7 million monthly listeners at this point. But you know, if you want to do music, this is what it is. It's like just like if you want to go to law school, you know, you gotta pass the bar, you gotta go to law school. I mean, if you want to be a lawyer, you gotta go to law school. Like that shit ain't easy. Ain't nothing that a lot of people want is gonna be easy, right? And the more people that want it is probably gonna make it a little harder. So that's what you're signing up for. You act like people act like this is a surprise. Like, oh, I didn't know it was gonna be this hard. Like, what? Like, how many people do you think are gonna make a living with music? Like,
I'm saying, like, if you want less effort and more money, I could give you a list of jobs. That's why I'm still confused. Like you said, Dane, why are we still here? I feel like the three of us, our work ethic, it's like we could be making way more money in a different industry. There's just some sort of draw here, but it's like, man, if you were concerned with the amount of work, and I think even people get frustrated because it's like they want people to pay attention to their music. So they're like, they feel like they're putting in the effort and the energy because they love music so much. But my thing is, go get a well-paying job and then take that money and pour it into the music if you want attention. You know, like if I was like, I just want attention for my music, I don't have to make the money here because it's hard to make the money here. I'd go get a really good job and I would hire an event planner to throw really dope events around my city for free and just and have the DJs play my music. And then I would expand that out to other cities. Like, if you're just like looking for people to pay attention to you, go get a job. Like, you could be making way more money and still getting the attention. But I think there's this like connection to like fame, money. I got it out the mud. But then people are like, I don't want to get it out the mud. That's essentially what I hear people saying when they're like, I hate content. It's like, you don't really want this. You want it the way you want it. And again, this is not Marlon. I'm not talking about him because this man has clearly figured it out. He's just talking about something that he doesn't really enjoy. But I feel like the vast majority of people, it's like, man, like you say you want it, but what you want is ease and fame and attention. And you think that your music blowing is going to allot you fame and ease and attention. And it's probably going to give you the opposite.
Yeah. I want people to get a job just so they can feel like what 8 hours of work actually feels like. I want you to get a job.
You're not working 8 hours at a job either. I don't know any job aside from like teaching or like being a trash man or like a deep sea diver, or my brother's an oil controller. But like most office jobs, my friends definitely work less than me.
Right.
They sit in the office, but it's not no 8 hours.
I mean, I work more than 8 hours, but I kind of got 2 jobs or 3 jobs.
You got hella jobs. Plus, you're a like you're owning stuff too. Do you know what I'm saying? And you're like invested in stuff, and you're an executive. I'm talking about, and I'm not saying basic jobs, but like I have friends who work for all sorts of tech companies, all sorts of real estate companies. I don't know. Most people don't work they may show up for 8 hours. They may be clocked in for 8 hours, but most people who aren't entrepreneurs aren't working 8 hours.
I think that's key because when you're an entrepreneur, your phone doesn't go off. You're always working. But yeah, I mean, there are other people look, I'll put it this way. When I talk to other people who are working as teachers or nurses or, just trying to pick up extra hours doing A, B, and C, I'm like, I'm ready to kiss the ground in my studio because as much as I work and as little as I have leisure, I wouldn't want to deal with what they're dealing with, even if I had weekends off. So I feel privileged.
I'm at a place where I'm definitely not working 8 hours a day. I work like maybe 4 or 5. I'm not really putting in that much work right now because I'm burned out. I'm just here, y'all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's another thing. Like, I think I gave my suggestions before, but it is, here's my suggestion, because I don't want to just tell people like, stop crying. Right. So just to recap my suggestions. 1, just have a clear like understanding of how you're presenting your story and your brand, and put together a strategy for how you're going to approach social media, right? So that you're not waking up every day thinking like, oh, what should I post today? You already know what type of post you're making today or tomorrow or for the whole week, right? Number two, batch content. Like, you don't have to create every day. You can create 10 pieces in one day and, roll it out over the next couple of weeks. And then number three is collaborate with people. It makes it a hell of a lot easier, and you're cross promoting with other fan bases. So not only is it less time spent, but it's also a wider reach. So, you can pull all these levers to make things a lot easier for yourself instead of complaining. So hopefully there's some solutions in there on top of me telling you you're tripping. And if you're that upset with it, you probably should find another job.
If you hate it, just give it like if you're saying I hate content, it's only you hate it because you're probably not seeing the results you want from it. So I would say try it for 6 months. 90 days, I think you can see a difference. But if you try something for 6 months and it really doesn't render the results you want, sure, content sucks, whatever. But I'm talking about like Dame said, you got a plan. Every day you're trying it, you're moving. Like I said, I felt like I worked too much and I was really starting to hate the music industry. I somehow have figured out how to work half the time and make double the money now. So that's what I moved to. I'm not sitting here I couldn't keep complaining about the music industry and keep working in it and have nothing, which is why I moved. So I'm like, okay, now what is it that I want to do? But I feel like if there's a complaint, you should be answering, which is why I appreciate Marlon, which is why I get what Payne was saying. Like, he was like, I know I'm going to figure it out. Like, there's an appreciation there for the craft where he's like, I have to do this. So for me, there's an appreciation here for the tenure and the time that I've given to this and for the goals that I have and for the belief system. So it's like, if you really are that frustrated, my question is, have you actually given it a college try? Like, again, I was on a consultation, was like end of last week, and a kid is in college and he was on the phone with his mom, with me, who's managing him, which I thought was super duper dope. They had a great system. They were like, this is what we're working on. Here are our goals. And she was like, I really want him to be full-time by next year when he graduates. So I said, currently, does he have the output of a full-time musician to make that type of money? And they both kind of paused and they were like, okay, we see what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? But that wasn't hard for them to hear because they're already functioning like a business. And they were like, okay, our expectation can't be for this result when we're not producing to the level of the result that we want. It's not going to come right away. That's the thing that I think people get tied up in. It's like, I really want to succeed right now. So if you're telling me what it's going to take for me to do is going to take me 2 years, then I'm just going to sit here and complain about it because it's not worth me starting today knowing I won't see a result for 2 or 3 more years.
And then the crazy thing is they wake up and it's 2 years later.
Yeah. And you were doing the same thing and you're rendered in the same result. So if you're thinking, I really want this thing, if you're like, it's only going to take you 600, 700 days to get to that thing, then, and you have to work like that right now, you would do it. But a lot of people don't want to get to that place. And that was me. I was like, I'm so annoyed with where I'm at. I can't keep complaining. I still don't like the music industry, but I work way less and make way more, not way more, but almost double what I was making now. And I'm going to just my goal is, in 2 years, I want to be 10x what I'm doing right now. And I don't really want to be spending that much time. So I'm just learning how can I 10x myself and not be spending that much time. So like you got to figure it out.
Aaron's going to start another podcast because people are going to hone in on that. Like, oh, hold on, I can make double the money with half the time.
Listen,
we need a whole
I had to really sit with myself, but it worked. Process. I figured it out. And I'm really grateful. And it's not crazy money right now, but it's enough for me to be like, I sleep and I have space in my head, and I'm still going to keep figuring it out. But y'all are going to see 3-4 years from now, it's definitely going to be at least 10x where I'm at right now. And most of it came from me just not giving all my energy to everybody else and focusing on myself.
There you go.
Well, Marlon Craft can come on this podcast anytime, and I'll even cut up the content, which is what I do. So,
Marlon, don't think we're hating on you. We think you're dope. This was just a talking point.
He's a cool cat, and because I've followed him for so long, I know kind of like his other interests. Like I know he's a hoop fan. Like there's so many different things that you could tap into that hopefully won't drain your creativity as a music artist, that people will probably love and enjoy, to hear from him. And hopefully he would enjoy making it, right? Like when we were trying to come up with an idea for Ja to start a podcast, like Blackbusters made so much sense because he aspires to be a filmmaker, right? So, and he loves film. Like I don't have to twist his arm to get him to talk about film. Just like we're potentially thinking about doing something boxing related because he's a huge boxing fan. Like he looks forward to these podcasts, to have these conversations. And this is ultimately content. And it gives us an opportunity to network and reach out to people. He was on Bill Bellamy's podcast yesterday because we reached out to him because we want him ultimately to be on Blackbuster to do How to Be a Player. Like that would be super dope for us. So he did Bill Bellamy's podcast and they shoot it literally like a block away from here. And they just got to talking and it was just such a vibe that I don't know that this is going to happen, but I'm definitely going to follow up with Bill and be like, look, you said that he would have a spot in How to Be a Player too. Because I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that, but I don't think he cares. They are working on a How to Be a Player too. And I know a lot of younger people watch this podcast. I'm like,
I definitely want to see that.
Like, what are you talking about? What is How to Be a Player? Who is even Bill Bellamy?
All right, Bill Bellamy did publicly tweet. Whoa, wait a minute. Back in 2013, he tweeted How to Be a Player 2 is coming. So
it's been a minute, but when you put yourself out there and you start having these conversations, like you just never know like what's going to happen, what opportunities are going to present themselves. Because the Blackbusters podcast, in addition to like having more content and telling Ja's story, it was purposely designed to help us network and get in front of more people in Hollywood. Because at the end of the day, like that's the goal, right? And that's what I mean when I say have an understanding of your vision, your strategy, and the story you're trying to tell, so that you can tick a lot of these boxes. Like you can kill 8 birds with one stone, right? Like you want to maximize your efforts and your time. So that's how you need to be thinking when you're thinking through your content, and don't overthink, because then you just might not do anything.
I think a lot of artists are overthinking because they think if I'm going to make content, it has to land right away and it has to get me good results. And it's just not going to happen like that.
Right. Yeah, it takes time. I mean, all this stuff takes time. Building relationships takes time. But things start to roll, and you start securing a few wins a week, and then you might get a bunch of wins, 1 week, and you just continue to build. But complaining definitely doesn't build anything.
Well, what also doesn't build anything is the rap genre, because according to the internet, it is dying. I know we only have a few minutes, but Ebro did post a tweet that went viral, super viral squared. And that tweet said, very ominously and vaguely, I got a call saying 4 ellipses. I think it's 4. That's a lot. It should be noted, many major record labels have deprioritized signing rappers. The focus is now African music and Latin music. Rappers better stop being boring and talking about the same shit over and over, chasing TikTok success and comment sections. So this ties into what Marlon Craft was saying. Rappers better stop chasing TikTok success. My issue with the tweet is that the first part, if it's true, which I have no reason to believe it's not, and Ebro did get a call from someone at a label saying many major record labels have deprioritized signing rappers and they're focusing on Afro beats and Latin music. That's one thing. The end part is all him injecting his opinion. And as we know, not everyone has the best opinion. So he's tying labels deprioritizing signing rappers to rappers chasing TikTok success. So a lot of people could conclude, well, let me just get off TikTok. I shouldn't make TikTok content anymore because Ebro said so. And I don't think that's what Ebro's saying, but Ebro's also taking this opportunity to take shots at the TikTok generation when in reality, he probably has a bias because he's not of the TikTok generation. And a lot of older folks aren't all that complimentary of TikTok and viral trends. Me, I had a number one hip hop R&B song because of TikTok. So I can't hate on it. Why would I? And that the TikTok success did translate to other platforms. I'm not going to sit here and tell people get off TikTok. You should obviously raise your kids in a way that doesn't force them into a space where their attention spans are low and they're expecting books to take 60 seconds to get through. That's a different conversation entirely. And I think Ebro is conflating many things, many complaints at once and bundling it up. It's like when there's a Senate bill and the bill has to do with like environmental improvement, and then they add some shit in there like, yeah, and in addition, it allocates $50,000 to economic development in the small town that will only affect my aunt. You know what I mean? It's what do they call that? Pork. That's what this tweet is. There's a lot of pork on this tweet. But what are your thoughts? And then I have some data that I looked up that I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I don't think people should care, right? Like, I don't care what the labels are doing. Like, there's still a huge market for hip hop. So if you're a hip hop artist, you carve out your lane. Like, independence is all about carving out your lane, right? I mean, most people think that black licorice is disgusting, right? Myself included. I don't understand. And the only person that I even trust that likes black licorice is my pops, right? But they still sell the shit, so it's got to be a market for it. Payne, you eat black licorice?
Wow.
I love black licorice.
Yeah, I just think you guys.
Matter of fact, there's no real licorice. Black is the only real licorice. FYI, red is fake.
You like, I'm just convinced that people that like black licorice have different tastes, but you're tasting something different than what we are tasting.
Yes.
Like it has to be, because there's no way
this tastes good.
Yeah. But anyway, my point is, no matter how many people in the world are turned off by black licorice, it's still in the store. That means it's still being purchased somewhere, right? And I believe rap is more popular than black licorice by a long shot. And I don't care what the labels are prioritizing, because I'm just trying to build my community. And I know that community, the potential community, is large. And if you make quality music and you understand how to engage and make your 3 posts a week, you're still gonna win. So I don't really care what the labels are doing. That's my thought. I mean, we got maybe have a separate conversation just on a wider scale of like why hip hop is in a little less demand and priorities have shifted at labels. But to me, that's a separate conversation than how I would instruct an independent artist to react to that tweet.
That's what a lot of people are saying, but then a lot of people are kind of tripping over some of the words that Ebro tweeted, which I think is more of a distraction than anything. If the point is that the labels are deprioritizing signing rappers, if we really care enough, we'll figure out why that is and how to avoid being deprioritized if getting signed is our goal.
Yeah.
I think deprioritizing something doesn't mean that it's still not majorly effective as well. Like, I manage, the only artist that I still manage is a Nigerian rapper. And last year, because she was heavily focused on rapping. She was like, I just want to be known as a wordsmith. I don't, because she sings, she does a lot of Afrobeat, whatever. So last year we were focused on that. Coming into the top of this year, we were focused on that. We've been having meetings like, hey, you need to start tapping back into your Nigerian roots. It's simple math. Like, the continent of Africa is up and has been up. It was like hip hop, Afro music, and then like Latin music. Those three were the top three genres since I think 2019 or 2020, something like that. So it's like, okay, well, we focused on hip hop. Let's see if there's more expansion with the Afro, because then we're going to a whole new continent. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's simple math. It's like him stating it like it's rocket science is only news to people who don't follow any trends and who aren't looking, which is why I think, like what you said, it's like he inserted his opinion because it was almost like the shock value of it, but it's not shocking to anybody who works in the music industry. Like, those three genres have been the biggest genres. And everybody also, newsflash, is expanding over to Asia as well. So it's like, in 2 years, this tweet is about to be about the Korean, not just the K-pop stuff, but Korean trap, the J-pop, Japanese trap. Also, like, it's going to be, and then people are going to find out about regional Mexican music, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, if I could run you down the biggest genres in the world right now, because I'm a music executive, those are the trends that I'm following. He's tweeting to people who don't work in the music industry. So it creates this hoopla, but nothing in the tweet surprised me. Even his perspective. I mean, I'm glad he calls himself Old Man Ebro, but when he talks, that's exactly who he sounds like to me. Just like an old man who's disgruntled about everything. And it's like, okay.
Well, and here's a word he didn't use, but you used heavily, Aaron: trends. And as we know, trends come and go in anything, in the stock market, in music, in sports. Trends are up, in fashion, trends are up and down. And with trend, looking at this idea of trends as a producer, am I following trends? A lot of producers, when drill came out, they're like, all right, I'm not making anything but drill. I still get producers saying, don't make boom bap. If I'm looking at this tweet, I'm thinking I need to stop making rap beats, period. All producers need to stop making rap beats and focus on, Latin music, Afro beats. What else is pop? What else is out there? Country. Some beat makers are making country beats because rap is not selling anymore. So why would we make those beats? And the point is, when I started online, and I was not doing this for a living, now I'm doing it for a living, and it's only going up from there. I was told, thankfully, to stop following trends. I was told to stop making trendy beats if that's not what I was trying to do. That's not where my heart was. It was Dream Life, and I bring this story up a lot. It was Dream Life who said, what are the beats you love making, and what are the beats that people love you to make? And before I could answer, he was like, it's the soulful stuff. Think of all the records you've done. Think of the Jeezy record. Think of the Game record. Think of the Ludacris record. They all have this common thread. Make that music that clearly comes naturally to you. Put it out. People are looking for it. Granted, Drake type beat might get a million times more search results than, boom bap type beat 2023. But at the end of the day, there are still people searching for that who want that. And if you can provide it, and if you can do something that others aren't doing, then not only will you be happier, but you'll be more financially successful. So on the topic of trends, I want to run over some figures from Billboard.
If I was a producer and I had the capability to make quality like Afro beats, I probably would. Like, I would probably lean into that. I mean, and that doesn't take away from like your signature sound, but if like you dropped a beat pack with like some really dope Afro beat, like I see a little bit more flexibility with producers because they're not necessarily like, they're not always like fan facing. to be a little bit more flexible or malleable to, trying a bunch of different things.
Yeah, we can be. I think we have a lot of options because if I wanted to go full, like it's fun to make. I listen to dancehall almost exclusively, but I don't make those types of beats just because that's me listening for pleasure. I'm not trying to be super analytical with it. I can't help being that way. But, something like that, like let's say, and I think it's interesting that Afrobeats is here and like reggaeton is here and dancehall is still kind of here in terms of mainstream North American success. I'd be interested in having that conversation at some other time. But if suddenly dancehall became all the rage, which it did in a way, it just wasn't marketed as dancehall. It was marketed as pop, created by non-Jamaican DJs and producers and singers. Another conversation. But if suddenly true dancehall became, like the number one or the number one climbing genre, I was like, hey, I've been listening to this all my life. Why don't I start making that? Because it could be fun for me. I think that's different from someone saying, all right, I got to abandon ship. And, to use Ebro's terms, I have to deprioritize making soul beats. Like, I'm not deprioritizing shit if I enjoy doing it and it's landing onto the right ears. But I could create a separate channel for just dancehall beats or Afro beats or pop, whatever, if it's something that I enjoy doing. The problem with a lot of people, creators, not just producers, but rappers and singers as well, is they're like, look at this trend, I got to do this. And maybe you're a savant, but a lot of times someone who's been making boom bap all their lives and suddenly is like, I'm going to make Afro beats, it's just not going to sound good. It might be interesting, but if you're not really entrenched in the sound and the culture of the music, then you might not be creating it at a high enough level. But that being said, I just want to be clear about what's going on because people are making it seem like rap is dying. My first point, this wasn't in an article. The labels go with what's profitable. We all know that. It has nothing to do. People are like, oh, labels are deprioritizing rap because it's just become so negative. Labels don't give a fuck. And there was that there, and there's another clip, the why the vibe is so off in a lot of black clubs. I'd be interested in talking about that clip, but I feel like that's a separate thing. A lot of people are tying that into this. Like suddenly the labels are concerned about the state of young people of color. No, they're trying to make money. So second point is Afrobeats is trending upwards. And according to Billboard, it's up 42.5%. However, it's still not a top stream genre. Hip hop is though. So keep that in mind. The fastest growing genre in 2023, which is a surprise to me, is rock. This is according to Billboard. So rock is number one. Hip hop and R&B is number two in terms of market growth. And the last point I'm going to make, which I thought is interesting, hip hop's numbers were just as low as they are now in 2018. And it bounced back. So it goes to what Aaron's saying. Trends are up, trends are down. They're always changing. So is Afrobeats going to become a staple of the North American musical palette? We will see. Hip hop, pop, rap, and country are, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. But I understand that labels may not care about like the health of the Black community or how music is affecting folks, but they may be responding to how consumers are responding to the music that's out today, right? I don't know if that's a thing, right? I know that labels may not care, but if people care,
right?
Are people caring? Because they're gonna adjust their listening habits accordingly. So could there be some truth in what Ebro said in his opinion part of his comment, saying that you need to make music that's essentially connecting with people that's different? Because I do think there's some truth to that. Because a lot of the music sounds very similar, right? And I think you need artists if I was managing an artist, I would be trying to deviate from that and trying to carve out our own lane, right? With a deeper connection with people. I actually agree with him on that, but I don't have any stats behind it. But, you know, I listened to Killer Mike's recent album, and I think a lot of young people, even if you don't like the music, listen to the production, listen to the layers, listen to how the songs are structured. Like, to me, like, you know, that music wasn't microwave. You can tell that that music took some time to put together. And I really appreciate that project. Even if you don't like the actual songs, you gotta appreciate how it was put together. So if I was a young artist, I'd be studying stuff like that, you know, because there's a clear difference. I can hear, and I'm not even a super music cat like that, but I can hear a clear difference between a Killer Mike's latest album and pretty much everything else that's coming out today. So yeah.
I don't think there was ever an era where an artist who spent a lot of time making an amazing body of work was, especially if they're already established, like a Killer Mike, just got overlooked. And so I feel like what Ebro is saying, you know, rappers better stop being born. Like, that advice applied 20 years ago before streaming. So it doesn't strike me as him saying anything groundbreaking. I really think he has his opinion. If rap nowadays is boring to him, is that an objective opinion?
No, I think if I had the time and the resources, I bet you could make it an objective opinion in terms of, like, you can probably analyze, you know, a lot of the music that comes out today, and you can probably, like, use some metrics to say, okay, these songs sound very similar, right? Yeah. I'm sure there could be an objective way to do it, and I'm sure Ebro would end up being right, because I think a lot of, again, music is easier to make today. You got a lot of people are using the same loops. A lot of people are putting stuff out there a lot quicker than they would before. So, like, you can more easily hear an artist's influence in their music, right? They're not evolving to a point to develop their own sound. Like, the music's just coming out, everything coming out, right? So I'm sure there could be an objective way to, like, say that what even his opinion is probably true.
Like, I just feel like millions of songs are dropped monthly and there's so much good music out. So yeah, if the vast majority sounds the same and I'm choosing from the 20% that doesn't, I'm still going to have music to listen to for the rest of my life. That's good. That's challenging the norms. That's incredible. So I don't know. I just feel like it's a weak argument. Like, if you want good music, look for it, because it's definitely out there. I feel like I listen to great music, but
that's just not what most people, that's not the world that Ebro lives in, right? Like, he's in the mainstream world. So he's not digging through things to find the 10, 15, 20%. Like, he's probably listening to what's being given to him or who's coming on his show, or, you know, so yeah. But I wouldn't be concerned about none of this if I was an artist. I'd be like, yo, I'm carving my lane and building my community, and, you know, I don't care what y'all doing out there.
The three of us are proof of that. That's the only thing I want to say. I know we got to go, but the three of us are proof of that. We were all left of center. We all stepped into the music industry, did our thing, and now we're growing, you know? And it's like, it's just a continuation year after year. It's like, I started out in rock music as a Black woman from the South side of Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Like, Kane, you, like, all of us have done different things, and none of us were like, well, they're going to be. So I think, yeah, don't pay attention to it. Go out and do what you're supposed to be doing.
I agree with that. Let's end on that. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Actually, quick shout out your podcast, because both of you are doing a bunch of stuff with podcasts. So hopefully we can get people to go over there, because we only drop once a week and there's more content to be consumed.
Yeah, my independent living podcast has been super inconsistent, just given my new responsibilities. But I did drop an episode probably like a week and a half ago with Tony Romiti, and then I have an episode with Ritz that I already shot. It just needs to be edited. That should be dropping pretty soon. And then the 2 Lost office hours that I held this past Monday went really well. It's going to start being a weekly thing once I get organized. I think the feedback and the suggestion going forward is just to make sure I have like a topic, and it's not going to be a free for all, right? So every Monday we'll have a topic so we can stay on track. And then at the end, if there's some Q&A outside of that topic, we'll address that. So it'll start being a weekly thing sometime in September. So yeah, look out for that.
My podcast that has to do with music and business is called the How to Build Your Own Dreams podcast. It's me and my business partner, Brandon, just walking through how we're building this dream, all the pitfalls we're experiencing as business owners. And then I have another one called the Winner's Circle podcast. That's specifically focused on Black women. If you're a Black woman or interested in what we have going on, I think it's cool to watch. It's just us processing life, but that one's called the Winner's Circle. You can find the links to both in my bio.
The Winner's Circle, how to make double the money in half the time.
Well, that one has nothing to do with business. It's more about feelings and life and culture. But yes, maybe I'll drop a solo pod about it. But maybe that's what my YouTube channel will evolve to once I get through with this lawsuit stuff, is how to make double the money in half the time.
I'm watching that. All right. Once again, appreciate both of you. And hopefully we'll have some surprise guests on some future episodes. That's all I'm going to say, because I have no idea. All right, everyone. Peace.
Peace.